So can you identify your love style? Man, is this an important question, right?
Huge.
Because this is what you ask anybody in this room. Why'd you get married, or why are you getting married? Because we love each other. But do you know that you give and receive love in different ways? And understanding that can be super valuable.
Yeah, and love is complicated. There's so many facets to love.
For sure. In fact, for the longest time, we've left explanations of love to poets, lyricists, musicians. You know, social scientists didn't have much to say about romantic love. And that all changed a few years back at Yale University, really for the first time when this researcher, Robert Sternberg, came along, did this massive study, a big longitudinal study on romantic love. He came up with something that we now call, are you ready for this? He calls it the triangular theory of love. Doesn't that bless you? The triangular theory of love. I know that sounds like a major sleeper, but it's really one of the most practical ways of understanding romantic love. He said that after doing all this research, that you can basically boil romantic love down to 3 essential ingredients. And you can write them on each side of this triangle. The first is passion. Passion. Passion, he says, is basically the biological side of love. That's the thing that just kind of flows with the hormones. There's nothing particularly noble about passion because it just happens. So passion, let me ask you a question about passion. How many of you have passion, once you get married, at least the expectation that you'll have passion at a 10 out of 10, every day of the week, every week out of the year, all your married life long, right? I got news for you, it doesn't work that way. Sometimes your passion, you're gonna wonder where it is. This couple over here that's already married, you understand, right? You've been married a few years with a baby on the way, right? Passion is always at a 10 out of 10. Ralph Waldo Emerson said that passion is the mob of the man that creates a riot on his reason, because there's no reasoning involved in passion. It's just biological by nature. Somebody else said that passion, though a bad regulator, is a good spring. In other words, passion is really good at getting love going, not so good at keeping love going. And that's why I say it's what got the two of you together in the first place. That's passion.
The first time we met, it was at a pool hall.
At church.
At a birthday party.
Our first day of work.
It was the end of the New Year's party.
And I looked across the room and I thought he was the cutest Asian boy that I've ever seen in my life.
The first time I saw her, I checked her out.
She thought I was hot.
I noticed him at a distance vacuuming the floor. It was then that I was attracted to him, and I thought this could be someone that I could see myself marrying.
And she was talking, and I just really didn't hear what she was saying. I just thought, she's so cute.
He missed out because I was saying some pretty smart stuff.
Yeah, and so if passion is the biological side of love, on another side of that triangle, you can write the word intimacy. And intimacy is more that emotional component of love. You know, it's that part that makes you feel known and safe in someone's presence, and like you're just with someone who gets you.
Yeah, that you get me and I get you like nobody else on
Absolutely.
the planet. That's intimacy.
You know, and there are those moments that reveal that. It's like it opens a window to that and you go, oh, I'm so glad I have you. Like I know for us, one of the powerful moments for me is humor, because we'll be in some social setting at a party or something, and I don't know, something happens and Les and I die laughing, and then you kind of look around and nobody else in the whole room found it funny. And I'm like, I am so glad I have you, because what would life be like if I didn't share this quirky sense of humor with someone? I mean, we get it. We're the only ones. And it's so bonding. And it's based on that kind of thing. It's based on that feeling that you're totally safe, that you don't have to edit your thoughts, you know, that you don't have to say it the right way. They still don't misunderstand you.
And there's shared history that comes into it that makes
our
us understand,
story,
right?
that's so bonding. Like for us, one of the most dramatic moments in our marriage, after 14 years, we discovered we were expecting our first child, which was such a great thing. And then he was born super early, a 1-pound micro preemie, and it was just a really intense passage of time for us. And so we finally got...
Some of you guys, I just have to interrupt you for a second, because when I tell my college students that we had a baby that weighed 1 pound, the guys look at each other and go, is that good? I don't know, you know? 1 pound, way to go, you know? If you don't know that small, in fact, my wedding ring slipped over his entire hand when he was first born, clear up to his shoulder, even at 3 weeks of age. Yeah. So give you some perspective on his age.
Yeah, and, so, months in the NICU, multiple surgeries, came home at 3 pounds, tethered to an oxygen tank. I mean, the whole thing was so intense. Our hearts on our sleeve. So I can so well remember, I just have this moment in my mind when he kind of, was able to be home and he started gaining a little bit and thriving. We were hopeful for him. And so I can remember being in our family room and we just kind of put him in the middle of our family room. It was like a Friday night. We had nothing and we were so glad just to be home. And the two of us were just watching him for hours. He wiggled and made a sound and that was just enthralling to us. And we discovered a couple hours in, our friends didn't find it quite as interesting as we did. We could have cared less because for us, all that we'd been through together, we were so bonded. I've never felt more emotionally connected. And that's what it's like. Nobody else gets the inside of your story like the two of you. And that's the intimacy that only you can share. It's your emotional connection. And that's one facet of love that's so powerful.
Some of the weirdest things that we enjoy together.
We make weird faces to each other at random times.
All the time. A lot of times we'll be in the car or actually walking through a mall and I'll start beating with my foot.
Oh, yeah.
And then he gets a little beatbox going. Honestly, if you can't have fun with the person you're marrying at the end of the day, like that for me was like absolutely like very, very, very vital.
So same thing on intimacy. Do you have intimacy at a 10 out of 10 every day out of the year? No, you don't. There's sometimes that you feel close and sometimes that you feel distant. I mean, we have a lot in common. Similar heritage and values and dreams. I mean, we got same name. We got a lot in common, right?
Little too much in common, apparently.
But there's sometimes I wonder, does she know me? How could she have thought that? How could she have said this, right? On the base of this triangle, you can write another word, and that word is commitment.
Right.
Now, if passion is kind of the biological ingredient, intimacy is the emotional ingredient, commitment is the willful ingredient of love. Commitment is that part of love that says, in spite of all the unpredictability in my life, and in spite of all these things I can't quite pin down that swirl about me, in spite of all that, I'm gonna make one thing rock solid in my life, and that's this relationship. That's you and me. That's commitment, right? Where does that come from? Your hormones? Your emotions? No, it comes from your will. It's the willful part of love. This is truly the part of love that is a decision. This is the I do part of love. We're gonna make this a covenant. Not just a commitment, but a covenant with each other. This is a powerful component of love, and it can't survive without it. Now, let me ask you the same question I ask on the other two. Do you have commitment at a 10 out of 10 every day of the week, every week out of the year, all your married life long? And most of you go, well, yeah, that's why we're signing up for this whole thing, right? Marriage. Well, yeah, that's true. We will have commitment at a 10 out of 10 on that level, but there's also an energy level that it gets infused with, right? That kind of lives out.
Yeah, that's right, because it is a decision and it is an act of the will, but then there's this other part where you have to lean into that, right? And life is full and we get distracted and we don't always have lots of energy to invest in our commitment to really lean into it on a daily basis. And so there is an ebb and flow to that.
Commitment means
Being in 100% and not letting backing out be an option.
For us, no matter what we've gone through, it's never been a question whether we're going to come out of it together or not.
We are going to go through every adventure, ups and downs, and do it together and face things as they come and work through things together, never alone.
I grew up in a home where my mom and dad didn't make it, and I'm determined that John and I are going to.
For both of us, this is a commitment. It's more than that. It's a covenant that we're making for a lifetime, not just to each other, but also to God.
Yeah, in fact, the bottom line of all this research that was done at Yale was not just to identify these three ingredients, but was to discover that love, romantic love, is very, very fluid. Yeah. It's not a static thing that you fall into and you fall out of. Love changes. There's an ebb and flow to it. There's seasons to love. Right. And the kind of love that you have today isn't the kind of love you have 10 years from now, or 10 months from now, or 10 days from now. Love is very, very fluid. In fact, if you were to look at love over the lifespan and begin to chart how it looks, And you ask a couple, hey, how's your love life on a scale of 1 to 10? And they've just gotten married. They're going to tell you it's a 10. Incredible. So grateful I have this person in my life. You come back to that couple a few months later, still 10 out of 10? Let's say you come back 3 years later, still 10 out of 10? No, it goes down a little bit, right? Come back 7. Well, maybe it's gone down a little bit more. 15 years, maybe even more, right? Love is very, very fluid. That doesn't mean you have to go down like that, particularly if you know how to cultivate 3 ingredients. Guess what they are? Number 1 is, number 2 is, and number 3 is? Right, if you know how to cultivate these 3 ingredients, well, you can go a long way in keeping that love life alive and thriving. It doesn't have to be something that just fades to the back.
Exactly. If you don't have an understanding that love is fluid, then you feel anxious or guilty if you're missing one of those ingredients on a certain day or a certain month or a certain season of married life. But when you know love is fluid, then what you do is arm yourself to cultivate what's missing. And it takes the anxiety out of that, and it gives you the power to recreate that connection.
You can think of these as the hot, warm, and cold ingredients of love: passion, intimacy, and commitment.
Just like a lot of couples that we see, the first years of marriage, like they're really all together, and then they kind of just, it fades after a while, and we just don't want that to happen.
We were out to dinner maybe just like a week ago or something, and I just remember sitting there, we're having a great time, and we look over and see this couple just kind of sitting there, eating their meal, but not really engaging each other in conversation.
I have a lot of friends that basically, like sex isn't even a thing anymore for them, and we're like, oh, heck no.
We knew that's not where we want to be, later in life.
That's definitely
Nope.
That's a priority.
Yep.
That has to be a part of this marriage.
And we're always holding hands, we're always snuggling on the couch,
Yeah.
so we're gonna make sure that
A lot of
that
PDA.
stays.
A lot of PDA.
Not a lot.
If you're using the workbooks, you'll discover some fantastic exercises to make this personal and really carve those grooves into your relationship. So let's get practical. How do you really cultivate these things in your relationship? Well, there's a little exercise that we've been doing for years and years. How's your love life, right? And boy, is this something that is, we count on.
Simplest conversation, and here's the absolute truth. Sometimes the simplest conversations have the most profound impact. And so in a very short amount of time, you can get a really great snapshot of how you're doing together by just asking how's your love life with those 3 ingredients in mind: passion, intimacy, and commitment. And use a simple measure like rating on a 1 to 10 scale. If I had to stop and look inside, take a little internal temperature reading, where would I say I'm at when it comes to passion? Where would I say I'm at right now on intimacy, on how connected I'm feeling with you? And where would I say I'm at on commitment? In other words, how much energy have I had for us recently? Have I been really distracted, or am I pretty focused on us? And so not diagnosing your spouse and what they're giving you or the state of your marriage, but just taking a look inside and saying, where am I at? And getting that clear and kind of rating it.
Right, and we'll do this, maybe we're out to breakfast on a Saturday morning, one of us will initiate it. Hey, how's your love life? We both know what that means. We get a little piece of scratch paper out, maybe a paper napkin or something, and we write down this little diagram, and both of us just think quietly to ourselves, where am I at on these 3 things? And so I'm thinking to myself, well, for passion, for me, it's not bad. I'm, a little room for growth. I'll give that a solid 9. Intimacy, I'm feeling pretty connected to Leslie. I feel like we're in sync. I'm going to give that also a good solid 9. Commitment, never been more focused, energized by a relationship. I'm giving that a solid 10, okay? So Leslie's doing the same thing on her side of the table, and she's thinking to herself, passion for me is pretty good. A little room for improvement. I'll give that a solid 2. Intimacy a 2, and I'm still committed to him, not sure why. Sometimes this isn't far from the truth. Absolutely. And so we do this on the opposite sides of the table, and then we slide these napkins to each other so we can both see them, and what happens? Right, she cries and I storm off. No, what happens? No, we begin to talk about it. We say this is the world's greatest shortcut to a meaningful conversation about your love life. And so in talking about it, our awareness grows and sometimes practical things come out of that.
No, it opens up. I can so vividly remember one day in particular when my passion levels were low and it really caught you off guard and you're like, what is going on with you? And honestly, I had to stop and think, okay, what is at the heart of this? And it got really clear for me. I was recognizing that we were in the stage where we had a toddler who hadn't quite learned to walk yet. So it was sort of between infant and toddler. And he was somehow in the middle of the night escaping out of his crib. So I woke up a couple times and found him just crawling around in a dark house, and it terrorized me. So I was in this weird place where I would wake up, every 10 minutes all night long, and I was exhausted. Well, we know that's a passion sapper, right? And I'm tense, and the funny thing was, you knew this was happening. It wasn't keeping you awake at all.
I thought it was kind of cool.
I think you were proud of him, like awesome. And I was,
He's an explorer.
Right. So that day, when we talked about it, and you got it, that was kind of a passion killer
Once
for me.
I saw that was kind of sapping her of her passion, I really wanted to help her. It was
Amazing.
all about you, yes.
Yes, how motivated, suddenly. And so we did. We went out and went to like a Babies R Us or something, and we literally came home that day with a tent.
Yeah, do you know they make like a mesh tent that you can put on top of your crib and you zip your kid in? Yeah. It's like baby prison,
Right.
so it worked out great.
And here's the deal. I mean, it's not like a magic pill, but it does feel a bit magical because after that experience, I knew that, number one, he had heard me, right? So I felt known. So emotional intimacy was greatly increased. And then I felt him investing in solving what was a problem for me, even though it wasn't a big deal to him. He took me seriously. So it opened up my capacity for passion again. Because once you feel connected and heard and known and loved, acts of service, right? Then it all flows back. So sometimes all it takes is just a little window of awareness that you share and you're back on track.
Right. Yeah, there's a school of thought in psychology that says awareness is curative.
Yeah.
Once you become aware of something, then you can do something about it. And does this open your eyes to things. So let's talk a little bit about each one. How do you cultivate passion? Let's say the passion isn't where you want it to be. What can you do to cultivate that? In fact, I want to give you something that I think can really change your love life as your love matures, and particularly for men. Remember when you were speaking, Leslie was speaking to a big group of women, like almost a stadium, thousands and thousands of women with a team of speakers and so forth. And I remember you did this in several different cities with this team, and I think we were in Minneapolis or someplace, and Leslie started to lose her voice. And so the coordinator said, hey, I was there, and they said, hey, could you go out in place of your wife and speak to all these women? And I said, well, what would you want me to speak on? They said, anything you want. I said, well, yeah, I can do that, And I went out there, and I thought, this is an opportunity I'm not going to waste. I said, women, I said, let me in on the secret. I'll spread the word to other men. What do we men need to know about cultivating more passion in our marriages? So there's like 10,000 women there. You think they had anything to say to me? Yeah, they start shouting out things. Chivalry isn't dead, and we like tender touches. And don't forget personal hygiene. Stuff like that. And it just got me to thinking, if I were to ask the same thing to a big, gathering of men, hey men, what do I need to know about cultivating more passion in my marriage? What kind of response do I get from a big room of men? What are you, an idiot? Yeah, show up naked. Next question, right? So with that in mind, let me give the men in here just a little bit of advice. This is something that you can do that will do wonders for passion in your marriage, and you can make it a habit. Let's say it's your day off. It's a Saturday. You're watching the game, or you're in the yard or whatever, in the garage, and you decide to go into the kitchen to get something to drink, and you're headed straight to that refrigerator, and you see your wife standing at the kitchen sink. If you will do this, it's amazing. Let me model this for a second. So you come up behind your wife. You don't have to say a word, by the way. Don't even have to utter a single word. Come up behind her. You put your hands on her shoulders. Now, it's important to remember to just keep your hands on her shoulders, okay? And then you just come up to her like this, and you put your cheek next to hers, kind of like this, okay? And you don't have to say anything. Just a little caress here for a second, all right? Now, here's the important part. Watch carefully. You walk away. I know some of the guys right in here are going, I don't get it. You don't have to get it. She gets it, all right? It's those tender touches. That's what a woman needs to have more passion.
Well,
that
because
most guys,
it conveys that we're being cherished, which
Right.
is a deep need we have that opens up our heart to
Absolutely,
passion.
right?
I think one thing that John's picked up on sex for me is that I need to be not pampered, but pampered throughout the day.
For me, passion starts early in the morning with just a sweet text message from Jer.
When I come home to a clean house, I'm ready to go.
I thought it was going to be romance and other things, but it's really just like, oh, you swept, you cleaned the kitchen, you cleaned out the fridge. Like, I feel so loved.
You know, I cannot relax when the house is not clean.
Yeah.
Specifically the
like,
kitchen.
Seriously, she looks
don't know
like an entirely different person. Like a before and after. Photo.
When you're really making that effort to be, think about my feelings and think about what's going to make me happy, I'll think about what's going to make you happy too.
That's one practical thing. What about intimacy?
Yeah, when it comes to intimacy, here, I mean, I would actually speak a little bit more to the women, because as far as I've ever experienced as a whole, women long for emotional connection. I mean, that's just one of our things. And we're always wanting it with our spouse. I mean, with our husband, with our guy.
Yeah, you never hear a woman say, wow, I just wish he would quit talking about all his hopes and dreams and fears. I mean, you know. Women long for those kinds of conversations.
Absolutely. And for us, those kinds of conversations happen at the drop of a hat with our girlfriends. We can't always crack the code to getting those kinds of moments with our, with our guy that we love. And so I remember, in fact, some of us have, or if you're like me, I love it so much. I have a small group. I mean, I have women I get together with. We've been meeting for over 10 years. We get together for hours, one night a week or whatever it is we can wrangle. And all we have to do is have an opening question, and we will talk literally nonstop without coming up for air for like 6 to 8 hours until we just can't stay awake, But
Yeah, all of us guys do that too.
I mean, and so I remember one night we were all talking in this group of women about how we long for that with our guys, because we want to open their hearts up, we want to know and be known. And so I had run across this research study that is phenomenal that talks about men and emotional intimacy. And it said when a man wants to feel connected to someone, what he needs is to experience a shared activity together. It's all about doing something active together that they love, and that makes them feel totally connected and just sort of opens up their heart. And so, I mean, I've never known that. Like, that was news, and all of us were like totally reacting to it. And then one of my girlfriends who's married to a football coach, which, is a whole life, she was like, he's just back. He's a professional football coach, just back from weeks on the road. And the one thing he wants to do to get reconnected to me, I mean, she's picturing date nights and all this. He's wanting to go running together every morning. And we're like, that's perfect. You'll be like our guinea pig and try a shared activity like that every morning and see what happens. And so, meanwhile, none of us would ever sign up to go running with a football coach. Basically, that sounds like torture to me. But she was in great shape. And so the next time we met, I will never forget how animated she was. It was like, I've never seen her come to life. She said, oh my goodness, the first morning I rolled out of bed at 5 a.m. and she said, all I wanted to do was go to my kickboxing class, with my daughters, but I promised I would do this with him. And we hit the road. It's totally black. We're completely silent. I'm thinking, what am I doing? Because I'm saying nothing because I can't keep pace with him and breathe and talk at the same time, she said. So we're out there running. I'm thinking, this is a total waste. And like 10 minutes in, all of a sudden he starts talking. And the whole run, he did not quit talking. Stuff she's been dying to know, his inner thoughts. She said, we got back to the house and he was still going. Like, we stood in the front yard and for another 20 or 30 minutes. And she goes, I am so hooked. I will share anything. They started kayaking together. he even built a deck, and she just went out and volunteered to carry wood back and forth, because while they're doing something active, that's when he starts talking. But if they go sit at a restaurant and look at each other,
Right.
nothing comes.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, women, you might have this in your mind's eye that, oh, when we get married, we're going to have those times. We'll go to Starbucks or wherever and just have these incredible
Dreamy.
talks,
Yes.
And you'll go and you're going to be so disappointed because he's just like, how you doing? There's just nothing coming out that you want to come out.
Right.
But when you do a shared activity, it's amazing. And wouldn't you say we get more email and notes from women that are so grateful to understand this component?
Women do things together, right? But we don't need an activity to talk, right? The talking is the main activity, and the backdrop is like, oh, we're shopping, or we're eating, or we're whatever. But not so.
Well,
men.
yeah, guys don't call other guys up and go, hey, you want to get together and talk? Right? We want to go do something. We want to go hunt, fish, play tennis, go to something. We want to go, and it's in the context of doing that thing
Right,
that a
that
man's
you feel
spirit
connected.
tends to open up. Right. Exactly. So if you want more intimacy, women, sometimes that is on you to kind of understand that component.
Men do feel more connected when we're sharing activities, which I've already learned just through our dating and engagement.
I learned that he opens up when we're going to the beach or going on a date.
We both took up rock climbing while we were dating, and
super fun.
He always mentions, like, I love that you like to rock climb with me.
Anything, really.
I didn't realize how much I needed that, but it's really true. I love it when she's excited to do the things I want to do.
What about commitment? How do you cultivate more commitment? And again, we're talking about the energy that kind of goes into that commitment
Yeah,
level.
sort of we're not talking about making the decision. We're talking about living into that decision. And basically it all boils down to the simple theme of time together.
There's no other way than just the old-fashioned way of getting out your calendars and protecting time, carving out time. It's kind of like your time together as a couple is like an empty cup, and stuff starts to fill that cup
the
if you don't
passion
protect
and
it.
intimacy will flow in if you create that structure of time.
And time, by the way, just slips away from us as couples if we don't protect it.
Yeah,
Right?
because we find we need to somehow find a way to recapture the moments we're missing out on together.
And I know it sounds probably cliched, and you've already heard this advice, but it's so, man, does it make a difference? Have a shared date night. Dating doesn't end after you get married. That means carving out that time on the calendar to protect that together, because it will eat up. And that's how you kind of reclaim the moments that slip away. I'll tell you this too. If you make a habit of it right from the beginning, we often tell newlyweds, choose your ruts carefully, because you're going to be in them for a long time, right? This is a way to carve a new groove into your relationship by making sure you protect time for just the two of you.
Some of the things we do to grow together and become closer is we like to go on a lot of dates.
One of the ways we grow our commitment is by having date night.
At least twice a week in our relationship, just because we really love to spend time with each other.
We almost always plan something and then end up staying at home because we love being at home together.
It doesn't have to be expensive. You don't have to go spend a ton of money or save up a bunch to go on a fun date.
Most of the time, we just watch movies, we cook.
Going downtown and walking around, maybe going for a hike.
We just, pack up some snacks and go up to the rooftop of our building.
We laugh a lot.
And we just have the time of our life.
That's how you cultivate more commitment. Now take a look at this. Remember we discovered this passage of scripture in Corinthians chapter 6. Now this was obviously long before any studies were done at Yale University or anywhere else, but right there in God's word where it says, sex is more than skin on skin. It's as much spiritual mystery as physical fact. We must not pursue the kind of sex or passion that avoids commitment and intimacy, leaving us more lonely than ever.
I think a few things that keep our love going is a lot of little things like eating together, eating out together.
Caring about somebody more than yourself.
Forgiveness.
Spiciness.
Like sriracha.
Watching movies together.
Alone time without technology.
Making time, not getting too busy, making time for each other.
Just going on a date and talking and then, fun stuff later.
I was going to say sex.
You, here, now. Boom.
There you have it, right? Passion, intimacy, and commitment. 3 ingredients you don't want to neglect when it comes to your love life. Oh, so you guys, on the Symbis assessment, I know many of you are using that, and when you begin to unpack that, you'll find a whole page through the eyes of your personality. How do you experience love? How do you like to experience love?
Yeah, this is one of the most helpful windows because it really can be a mystery. And this kind of clarifies that. Like, what makes you feel most loved? I'll get that by looking at this page.
Absolutely, and understanding your spouse
Yeah.
the same way.